Welcome back, guys. Today's video is an introduction to understanding brain functions related to behavior, emotions, and cognition. In case you're new here, this is Easy Psychology channel, and I'm a psychologist whose goal is to make psychology easier for you. So if you have any question or inquiry about psychology, please feel free to contact me anytime and I'll be there for you. Now let's begin. First, how the brain works. A deep dive into brain functions related to behavior, emotions, and cognition. Welcome to this comprehensive exploration of the human brain, the organ that makes us who we are. The brain is a remarkable structure that not only governs our bodily functions, but also shapes our thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and cognition. In this video, we'll break down the brain's complex processes into simple, digestible explanations to help you better understand how this incredible organ works. Chapter 1. The Anatomy of the Brain. Let's start with the basics. The brain's anatomy. The brain is divided into three main parts: the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Each part has specialized regions that handle different functions. The forebrain. The forebrain is the largest part of the brain and includes structures like the cerebral cortex, the limbic system, and the basal ganglia. The cerebral cortex. This is the outermost layer of the brain, often called the gray matter. The cortex is where much of our higher-level thinking occurs. It's divided into four lobes: the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital lobes. Frontal lobe. It's located at the front of the brain. The frontal lobe is the command center for decision-making, problem-solving, and planning. It's also involved in controlling voluntary movements. The prefrontal cortex, a part of the frontal lobe, is crucial for what we call executive functions, like managing attention, inhibiting impulses, and coordinating thoughts. Parietal lobe. It's situated near the top of the brain. The parietal lobe processes sensory information. This includes touch, temperature, and pain, as well as spatial orientation, which helps us navigate our surroundings. Temporal lobe. It's found on the sides of the brain. The temporal lobes are vital for processing sounds and are deeply involved in memory formation and language comprehension. The hippocampus, it's a key structure within the temporal lobe, plays a major role in forming new memories. Occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is located at the back of the brain. The occipital lobe is primarily responsible for processing visual information. It interprets what we see and helps us make sense of the visual world. The limbic system. This is the emotional center of the brain and includes the amygdala, hippocampus, and hypothalamus. Amygdala. The amygdala is central to how we experience and respond to emotions, particularly fear and pleasure. It's also key in forming emotional memories. Hippocampus. The hippocampus is vital for converting short-term memories into long-term ones. It's also involved in spatial navigation, helping us remember where things are and how to get to them. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a small but mighty structure that regulates essential bodily functions like hunger, thirst, and body temperature. It also plays a significant role in controlling the release of hormones, which affect everything from stress to sexual function. The basal ganglia. These deep brain structures are essential for controlling movement and are also involved in learning and emotion regulation. The basal ganglia work closely with the cerebral cortex and thalamus to ensure our movements are smooth and coordinated. The midbrain. The midbrain, although smaller, is crucial for relaying sensory and motor information between the forebrain and hindbrain. It contains structures like the tectum and tegmentum. Tectum. This structure is involved in visual and auditory reflexes, helping us react quickly to changes in our environment. Tegmentum. The tegmentum contains the reticular formation, which is important for arousal, attention, and regulating the sleep-wake cycle. It also includes the substantia nigra, which plays a role in movement and is notably affected in Parkinson's disease. The hindbrain. The hindbrain is the most primitive part of the brain, responsible for regulating basic life functions. Cerebellum. It is located at the back of the brain. The cerebellum coordinates movement and balance. It ensures that our actions are smooth and precise. Pons. The pons serves as a bridge between different parts of the brain and is involved in regulating breathing and sleep. Medulla oblongata. The medulla controls vital functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. It also manages reflex actions like swallowing and coughing. Chapter 2. The brain and behavior. Now that we've covered the basic structure of the brain, let's dive into how the brain controls behavior. Our behavior is the result of the brain's ability to process information, make decisions, and coordinate actions. Motor cortex and movement. The motor cortex, located in the frontal lobe, is the brain's command center for movement. When you decide to move your arm, for example, the motor cortex sends signals through your spinal cord to your muscles, instructing them to contract and relax in a precise sequence. This process happens so quickly and seamlessly that we often take it for granted. The motor cortex is organized in a way that different regions control different parts of the body. This organization is somatotopic, meaning there's a map of the body laid out across the motor cortex. This is why injury to a specific part of the motor cortex can affect movement in a particular area of the body. The basal ganglia and cerebellum also play crucial roles in movement. The basal ganglia help regulate the intensity of movements and prevent unnecessary or unwanted movements. The cerebellum, on the other hand, fine-tunes movements, ensuring they are smooth and coordinated. Now the sensory processing and perception. The brain constantly processes sensory information from the environment, which is essential for our survival. The parietal lobe is responsible for processing information about touch, temperature, and pain, allowing us to react appropriately to our surroundings. For example, if you touch something hot, sensory receptors in your skin send signals to your brain, which processes the information and prompts you to pull your hand away. Vision, one of our most important senses, is processed in the occipital lobe. The brain interprets light signals received from the eyes and transforms them into the images we see. Similarly, the temporal lobe processes auditory information, converting sound waves into the rich tapestry of sounds we experience. Decision-making and executive functions. Decision-making is a sophisticated process that involves evaluating options, predicting outcomes, and choosing a course of action. The prefrontal cortex is central to this process. It allows us to think ahead, plan, and make decisions based on our goals and values. This part of the brain also plays a key role in what are known as executive functions. These are higher-order cognitive processes that help us manage our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Executive functions include working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibitory control. These abilities are crucial for everything from problem-solving and time management to social interactions and emotional regulation. Chapter 3. The Brain and Emotions. Emotions are powerful forces that influence our thoughts, behaviors, and overall well-being. The brain's limbic system, particularly the amygdala, hippocampus, and hypothalamus, is central to how we experience and regulate emotions. The amygdala and emotional responses. The amygdala is often called the brain's emotional center. It is especially sensitive to emotions like fear and pleasure. When we encounter a threat, the amygdala springs into action, triggering the body's fight-or-flight response. This response prepares us to either confront the danger or escape from it. The amygdala also plays a significant role in forming emotional memories. This is why we often remember emotionally charged events more vividly than neutral ones. For instance, you might have a clear memory of a frightening experience, while a mundane event from the same day might be completely forgotten. The hippocampus and memory. The hippocampus is crucial for forming and retrieving memories, especially those related to personal experiences. It's involved in converting short-term memories into long-term ones. For example, the hippocampus helps you remember not just what happened on your birthday, but how you felt during the celebration. Memory and emotion are closely linked, and the hippocampus and amygdala often work together to strengthen emotional memories. This is why memories of emotionally significant events tend to be more durable and easier to recall. The hypothalamus and hormonal regulation. The hypothalamus, while small, plays a big role in regulating emotions by controlling the release of hormones. When we experience stress, the hypothalamus signals the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prepare the body to deal with challenges by increasing heart rate, blood pressure, and energy levels. The hypothalamus also regulates other emotions and drives by controlling hormones related to hunger, thirst, and sexual behavior. For instance, when you're hungry, the hypothalamus triggers feelings of hunger that motivate you to eat. Chapter 4. The Brain and Cognition. Cognition refers to the mental processes involved in acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. It includes functions such as memory, attention, language, and problem-solving. Memory. Memory is a fundamental cognitive process that allows us to store and retrieve information. There are different types of memory, each associated with different parts of the brain. Short-term memory. Short-term memory is the temporary storage of information. It's like a mental notepad where you jot down details for immediate use. For example, when you remember a phone number just long enough to dial it, you're using short-term memory. The prefrontal cortex plays a key role in this type of memory. And long-term memory. Long-term memory is the storage of information overextended. I hope I made them easier for you guys, And if you have any questions or inquiries, feel free to contact me anytime. Remember, I'm here to help you. So if you like the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, because that helps me to keep going. See you soon.